G'day guys and welcome to this business management lesson. In today's lesson we're looking at key knowledge point 113, that is unit 1, area of study 1, and the third key knowledge point for this area of study. Today specifically we're looking at the characteristics of successful business managers and business entrepreneurs and how these characteristics can help contribute to business success. You'll recall from our previous key knowledge points that an entrepreneur is someone who takes on the risk and responsibility of starting a new business or certainly transforming an existing business. In this role, an entrepreneur is managing this new business. So we need to make an important distinction here because the key knowledge point specifically identifies business managers and entrepreneurs as two separate groups, that all entrepreneurs are business managers, but not all business managers are entrepreneurs. Someone who starts a business and has responsibility for that business is managing that business. However, someone who is managing a team within an established business might be responsible for that team, but as they haven't gone through the process of starting a business or completely transforming a business, haven't taken on responsibility and financial risk, and haven't invested that kind of time into that kind of project, we wouldn't necessarily consider that manager an entrepreneur. Now, what we're going to talk about in this key knowledge point is going to be quite broad. Entrepreneurs and managers without a specific context, if we're not talking about software engineering or restaurateurs running a restaurant, we can't apply any specific skills or characteristics that you might be able to talk about if you're given a more specific context. Because we're talking quite broadly, I'm going to give you some sort of one-size-fits-all characteristics and skills that you can talk about for almost any entrepreneur or manager in any context. The first characteristic that is going to help entrepreneurs and managers to be successful in their role and drive their business towards success would be being a risk taker, or at least being prepared to take risks. Not just any risks. We're not talking about being careless with risk taking or taking poorly thought through risks, but we're talking about being calculated risk takers, being someone who is prepared to pursue opportunities that have the potential for high rewards, even if there's a significant chance of failure. Now, certainly being someone who does the research, does their market research, looks for opportunities and threats that exist within a market, and does their due diligence to identify characteristics in the market that might contribute to their success or contribute to their chance of failure. Being a well-prepared risk taker will certainly increase the odds of success, but we're talking about here someone who is prepared to take risks, to pursue lines of opportunity and inquiry that don't necessarily have guaranteed odds of success. The ability to think outside the box is another characteristic we can ascribe to successful entrepreneurs. People who are capable of thinking of new ways of doing things. They might have gone off to finished school and gone off to university, maybe got some years of experience within an established business, but people who can look at the way that they've been trained to do things and try and identify if there are improvements that can be made to those processes, or if to evaluate the way that they've been taught to do things to determine if that's really the most efficient or effective way to do something in the first place. These people are likely to come up with new and innovative ways of doing things. Perhaps these new innovations are something that allows this entrepreneur to give their business some sort of competitive advantage. So certainly people who are able to think outside the box and exercise their creativity are possibly going to be more successful than entrepreneurs who cannot do that. And certainly, just as a side note, just innovative thinkers as a whole. If thinking outside the box is too informal language, then innovative thinkers are people who can pursue innovation in the way that they do things, trying to come up with new ways of doing things or new inventions, or significantly transforming existing ways, processes and inventions. Certainly being resilient. This almost applies to every entrepreneur. If someone is prepared to give up at the first sign of challenge or at the first sign of rejection, they're probably not going to get very far in the world of business. So having the resilience to persist and persevere over challenges, certainly over the long term, is almost a necessary requirement of every entrepreneur. We also identify patience and determination as being aspects of resilience that are going to help someone to encounter challenges and overcome them. And say you're trying to grow your business and you're looking for investment, you approach several different investors and make your pitch to them. If they say no, they're not interested in investing in your business, is that the point where you give up and you just decide that you're not going to grow your business or you're not going to introduce this new product line? Certainly not. Any successful entrepreneur is someone who can demonstrate resilience to continue seeking investment or continue trying to find a suitable supplier. Whatever the context is, resilience is going to be necessary. And certainly, we identify willingness to accept responsibility as sort of a key characteristic of successful managers. When a manager can be accountable for their actions, when a manager is prepared to accept responsibility for their decisions, it helps increase trust and credibility with internal stakeholders in the business. Employees are more likely to understand that this manager is prepared to stand by their decisions, that they will implement strategies to make amends if their decisions found not to be the right ones in the first place. Certainly investors will see that a manager who's prepared to take responsibility for their conduct is someone who can be trusted with their investment. Having vision is pretty necessary. A successful entrepreneur is unlikely to ever be happy with the state of their business as it is today. An entrepreneur almost needs to have a vision of how much more successful this business could be in order to continue driving it towards that success. So a successful entrepreneur is someone we would describe as having a vision for what this business could look like in the future, with increased investment of time and effort and resources. Certainly, an entrepreneur who is happy with the status quo is unlikely to be successful in growing their business. And certainly, confidence. Much of growing a business in the first instance is attracting customers, attracting employees, attracting investors. And someone who can present their business pitch with confidence is going to find that a much easier process than someone who might lack self-assurance or might not necessarily have the charisma to present their ideas with the confidence that's necessary to convince an audience that these ideas are worth listening to. In summary for this key knowledge point, this is a pretty broad presentation. And like I said at the beginning, if you're given a specific context, it might be a little bit easier to ascribe certain characteristics and skills that can contribute to entrepreneurial success. Certainly, if you're presented with the case study of a butcher, the entrepreneur who wants to set up a butcher's shop is going to need to know a lot about meat. They're going to need to be able to talk to customers about meat. They're going to need to know where to buy meat. They're going to have to be pretty skilled with a knife to carve up meat. They're going to have sausage making skills. That's all contextually significant, but that doesn't mean that they won't need confidence. They won't need innovative thinking. It doesn't mean that they won't need the other characteristics we've spoken about today. Business success is often dependent on the application of an entrepreneur or a manager's skills. Certainly in a small business, like a sole traded or partnership style business, or in an entrepreneurial setting, in a startup business in the early days, there might not be a lot of other people that can be relied on to demonstrate skills that will drive the business towards success. So often a business's success is going to be dependent on the application of the entrepreneur's skills. And once again, there are no specific skills listed in the study design for this key knowledge point. So you'll likely be totally free to discuss and apply any characteristics that you think you can justify in whatever context you're given. And certainly it's worth remembering that it may be important for you to distinguish how the characteristics that you're talking about are specifically of benefit to the entrepreneur in achieving business success. Don't just tell me what innovative thinking is, but tell your teacher how innovative thinking is going to help this entrepreneur create a successful business. That's all for today. See you next time.